Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee's last win was exactly 1 month ago in Iowa. With Super Tuesday looming in his campaign right now, there's clearly a critical juncture underway for him. He joined me from the campaign trail in Atlanta just a short while ago. Governor Huckabee, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome back to Late Edition.
Thanks, Wolf. Great to be back.
All right, this is the big weekend right before Super Tuesday. I'm going to play a little soundbite from Mitt Romney speaking about you. Listen to this.
You got two people really at this point that have narrowed down the race. I don't want to be disrespectful of Governor Huckabee and Ron Paul. They're both good men, but at the current stage, as you look at the national standings and the delegates that we've each lined up and the votes we've each received, it's come down to basically a two-person race. And we're different, Senator McCain and I.
All right, so basically he's saying, you know what, Governor Huckabee, drop out and let McCain and Romney go at it. What do you say?
Well, I've got a different take on that. I think it's time for Mitt Romney to step aside. You know, I'm leading in the states that are going to be real critical on Super Tuesday throughout the South, substantially ahead of Mitt Romney in these states. And I think it's ludicrous for him to suggest that with only 8% of the delegates counted and us being very close to the same delegate count, that somehow that makes me irrelevant. The fact is he spent $100 million to have the same market share that I have for $7 million. Now, anybody with a Harvard MBA ought to know that the business model on that is it's time to pull the plug on a business that's just not selling that well. And the real challenge is, if he wants to call it a two-man race, fine, but that makes it John McCain and me.
So because the other side of it is that some of the pundits are suggesting that you're really running right now, not for president, but for vice president. You want to be on John McCain's ticket. First of all, do you think his nomination looks like it's a done deal?
No, not at all. I mean, let's keep in mind that until somebody has 1,191 delegates, they're not the nominee. They may be a front runner, but front runner can become the back burner real quick in this race, as we've seen over and over. Rudy was the absolute de facto nominee. He's gone. Fred Thompson, he was going to suck all the oxygen out of the room. He's gone. A number of others, 7 or 8 other candidates, they're gone. I'm still here. And I think people need to remember that the people are going to make this choice, not the national pundits, and Mitt Romney's not going to make the choice either. That's why we're in it for the long haul. Come Tuesday, we feel like we're going to pick up quite a few delegates and do very well, and we're going to keep going. And until somebody has 1,191 delegates, I'm still on the stage. You know, you're not going to force me out. I've worked too hard to be here. And the fact is, you know, I'm not a quitter. I didn't get in my life where I am by just giving up and quitting because things got tough. I've had a tough going all the way through, and it just makes me tougher and more determined.
The argument, I guess, they make is that you're willing to go after Mitt Romney, but you really stop short of criticizing John McCain, and that suggests, at least they're saying, that this is why you might be interested in staying in this race to potentially run as his running mate. You've heard that argument. I wonder what you say about it.
Well, I've heard the argument. John McCain hasn't gone after me either. Does that mean he's wanting to be my running mate? I think the point is that we've had a respectful relationship because we both believe politics needs to be more civil. And that's why we haven't attacked each other. But we both, McCain and me, we've been on the receiving end of millions of dollars of Mitt Romney's negative attack ads. So we understand that Mitt's tried to become the nominee by destroying the people around him. And John McCain and I both have taken a different approach to the nomination and the path to it. We've tried to talk about what we're for, not what the other candidates are wrong about. Now, there are differences between John McCain and me. I support the Human Life Amendment. We have different views on immigration, but they're still respectful views. And I don't go around calling John McCain a liberal just because he has a different shade of views on some things. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've kept it very civil.
In 2001, when John McCain voted against President Bush's tax cuts, he was one of 2 Republican senators to do so, including Lincoln Chafee, the former Republican senator from Rhode Island. In justifying his nay vote on the Senate floor, he said these 2 things. On May 21st, 2001, McCain said, "The principle that guides my judgment of a tax reconciliation bill is tax relief for those who need it the most, lower and middle income working families. families. And then on May 26th, he said, I cannot in good conscience support a tax cut in which so many of the benefits go to the most fortunate among us at the expense of middle-class Americans who most need tax relief. Now, a lot of people suggest that that's almost like the class warfare argument that the Democrats make. The rich people don't need tax cuts. The middle class, the poor people need tax cuts. What do you say about those arguments that he made then in justifying his vote against President Bush's tax cut?
Well, I supported the president's tax cuts then. I support them now. I think anytime you can cut taxes, it's a good thing. And I don't believe that those tax cuts only affected those at the top. But certainly, good tax policy ought to even things out for everybody. It's the reason I support the fair tax, which is a whole lot better than just cutting a few taxes here and there and making winners and losers. It's the reason that a completely new tax approach is really preferable, because it empowers everyone in the economy, those from the top to the bottom, but the people at the bottom actually end up getting the best deal out of the fair tax. So I hope more people will start looking at it and realizing that's the direction we really need to go.
Because the argument has been made, especially by Mitt Romney and other critics of John McCain, that he's flip-flopped. Now he supports making the Bush tax cuts in 2001, 2003 permanent, even though he voted against them originally, and he argued that it was no time to go ahead and give tax breaks to the wealthy, and in 2003, no time to give tax breaks really to anybody at a time of war. Do you see an inconsistency there on the part of John McCain?
I'd rather let Senator McCain explain his position on that. Mine's been consistent. I was for them then. I'm for them now. But again, I think they need to go further. I think we need to get rid of the IRS completely and stop the penalties on productivity. That's the problem with our tax code. It's not just a piece of it. It's the whole thing that's flawed, because it's based on the idea that you punish people for doing well. You punish people for working, for saving, for investing, for making money. That's crazy. What you ought to do is reward them for working hard, whether they're working hard at the bottom or working hard in the middle or at the top. So work ought to be something that we honor and cherish.
So just explain to our viewers why you're willing, more than anxious, to go after Mitt Romney and criticize him when you think he's inconsistent, but you're reluctant to do so clearly, as we've just seen, as far as John McCain is concerned.
Well, it's not that I'm reluctant. I've pointed out differences with Senator McCain and myself on immigration, human life amendment, embryonic stem cell research, McCain-Feingold. Those are areas where we're different. But I don't feel like I've got to take a ball-peen hammer to the kneecaps of John McCain to become president. I do feel like that when Mitt Romney tries to present himself as a consistent conservative, it just flies in the face of every fact out there, because he's not been consistent, and he's a recent convert to many of the positions that I have held and some that John McCain has held, but he's tried to paint both of us as liberal. And I think that's what we resent, is when we were out there supporting Ronald Reagan, he was running away from him. And now he wants to try to claim that he's the true conservative. I think that's what rankles many of us, is that he's a recent convert, and now he is shouting hallelujah louder than the rest of us who have been in church a long time.
He's also going after you, saying your proposal for economic stimulus, basically to strengthen the infrastructure of the country, build new highways from Bangor to Miami, as you said to me the other day, is really unrealistic. Here's what Romney said.
An economic stimulus plan has to put money in the hands of consumers and businesses and homeowners now. Building a road project, you have to get designs, eminent domain, you get the engineers to approve. It takes years and years and years to get a road project. So it's a wonderful idea, but it's not related to the short-term economic stimulus.
All right. Go ahead, Governor, and respond.
Well, I was so anxious to get a chance to answer that the other night, and I didn't get to, so I'm glad you're letting me do it now. I'm amazed that Mitt Romney, who was a governor, didn't understand. Maybe his highway department didn't do what the other highway departments across America do, and that is they have these projects already ready. The engineering is done. The eminent domain is already done. The only thing that we lack in Arkansas and in most states, you ask any governor, is funding. If we had the funding, we've got projects we're ready to pull the trigger on tomorrow. If we could get the bulldozers and the movers in, we could start pushing dirt aside and building stuff right now. We've got the engineering studies, we've got the plats laid, everything is in place. What we don't have is the money to pay for it. Many infrastructure projects, whether it's airports, roads, and bridges, have long been on the books. They're already ready. Environmental impact studies have been done, but it doesn't have any funding. If we fund those projects, You put Americans to work. 47,500 Americans go to work every time we spend $1 billion for infrastructure. And when we do that, you're using American labor, you're using American concrete and steel. That's economic stimulus, and it's solving a real problem. And that is the problem of a choked infrastructure where people are sitting in traffic for 38 hours a year, a full work week, just sitting there banging on their steering wheel because they can't get home.
Governor Huckabee, we got to leave it there, but good luck Tuesday and beyond. We don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday, but you're in it for the long haul. Is that right?
I'll still be around next week and the week after that until somebody gets all those delegates, and I'm hoping it's me. We're in this thing. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and I've said it all along. We're going to go to the finish line.